Good morning, my friends. Welcome to our New Testament challenge. Today I'll be sharing some thoughts and reflections around the 23rd chapter of the book of Matthew, the Gospel of Matthew. We've talked about this ever since really chapter 4 or 5. Jesus has been out doing the ministry. He's been teaching, he's been healing, he's been moving around, he's been changing people's lives. And then as we have gotten closer to the end of things, particularly since chapter 1 or chapter 21, when he came into Jerusalem, things have they've heated up. And today, in today's passage, he just, he doesn't hold anything back. In 21, we have him overturning the table, so we know he can get angry. He doesn't lose his temper. It was very intentional. And I think here also, if you read it, it almost sounds like he's angry. And he may be, but this is not out of control. It's just very, very intentional. And he is speaking to the religious authorities who have abused their authority, who have abused their gift. And he is saying it's time for a change. It's interesting. He says, beware of the scribes and the Pharisees. And multiple times, he says, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. You say one thing and you do another. You lock people out of the kingdom of heaven. You cross sea and land to make a single convert, and you make that new convert twice as much a child of hell as yourselves. You add burden upon burden upon their lives without the joy of knowing God. He says, you make sure you're out in public and you speak in public, and you want to make sure your goal is to have people look at you and follow you. You could see them in today's. They would be the stars of social media. They would be the ones everybody would follow on Twitter and Instagram. You could see that, and they would be the ones out there in front, making sure everyone saw them and listened to them, and they would just do one thing, teach one thing, and do another. And Jesus here at the beginning, in the first part of 23, he says, listen to what they say. He says, it's good stuff because it is of God. They are speaking the word of God that God handed down to Moses and to the prophets. Admire what they say, but the truth is they don't do what they say. They give a different example. He says, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you tithe mint and dill and cumin, and have neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice and mercy and faith. He says, and he talks about mint and dill and cumin. These are herbs. These are small, tiny. Have you ever seen a dill seed? These are little things. So they're very focused upon following certain rules, making sure they follow them to the letter, but then they ignore the spirit of the law. And he talks about this earlier. He says, oh, mother and father, we can't help you because we're focused here. This is what God has called us to do. And so they ignore their own family. And what Jesus is saying, that commandment to honor your father and mother comes first before the others. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you clean the outside of the cup and of the plate, but inside they're full of greed and self-indulgence. You're like whitewashed tombs, which on the outside look beautiful, but inside they're full of the bones of the dead and all kinds of filth. You look righteous on the outside, and on the inside, you're dead. I've been watching a series on Amazon Prime on the Musketeers. And at the first season of the Musketeers, the Cardinal, who is also the First Minister of France, he is You know, on one hand, he is the cardinal of the church. He is, you know, the outward and visible sign of God, and on the inside, he is the one who sends out murderers. He is the one who does this and that. And so he shows one thing and speaks one thing, and he is very, very cynical, very you know, devious. You can see that, and so he's a perfect example of what they're talking about here. You know, they say one thing and they do another. Woe unto you, hypocrites! Not just the Pharisees and the scribes. We need to be careful that when we are saying one thing, when we are saying love and grace and kindness and mercy and justice, but we are doing something else. We are keeping people from love and kindness and justice and mercy. Then woe be unto us, for we are the hypocrites. Difficult words to hear and to accept, but they are words of Christ nonetheless. Hope this has been helpful to you. It's kind of heavy today, but we're getting closer. We're getting closer to his betrayal. We're getting closer to the trial. We're getting closer to the crucifixion, and ultimately we are getting closer to the resurrection. Have a good day, my friends, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.